So today I'd like us to reflect on the profound ways that our children's faith development unfolds within this church's religious exploration program. And I'd like to note that we made that change. I can't remember exactly when, but we don't call it religious education, we call it religious exploration. And I think that's an important difference. One of the most exciting and transformational shifts we've made in the last few years since coming back from COVID and moving into our new edition is that we're now embracing an emergent curriculum. And this is one that allows the children themselves to lead the way in their spiritual journeys. In the next few minutes, we'll walk through a bit of what emergent curriculum is, how it supports our children's personal and faith development, and what it does to really, really transform our children and youth programming. And then we get to be invited into our children's spaces and share in the sacred meaning making, and even get to wonder a little bit about what our children have to teach us about our faith journeys. So what does embracing an emergent curriculum mean? At its core, emergent curriculum is child-led learning. It honors the natural curiosity and development of each child, and it gives them the agency to explore the world, themselves, and their faith in ways that are meaningful to them. This approach invites children to become active participants, not just recipients of their own growth and spiritual formation. The curriculum is driven by children's interest and questions and experiences, and it emerges in real time. It emerges from what the children are drawn to, what they want to learn, what they are curious about. And at its core, it flips the script on who is in charge. So now the children are the leaders in their classroom, in their community, and their learning. And adults play a critical role, and I thought it was really funny when Alora and Clover were basically like, the adults find stuff for us, but they're not really needed. And Maria Montessori, who I've studied, called this a normalized classroom where the children really start to, you really aren't even needed. If you didn't show up to work one day, the children would be fine. That was her goal. And that doesn't mean that we aren't critical, because we move through the spaces as observers, as facilitators, as co-learners. And this means that the classrooms become a space of really dynamic and changing engagement. The children take the lead, they ask questions, they choose activities, they make connections, and then the teachers respond by offering ways to more deeply engage, or maybe tell a story, or connect it to our UU faith. They provide context, they introduce our values, and they hold space for more curiosity and wonder to emerge. So this method has long-standing credibility in the field of education and is used especially in early childhood, and it was one that I used extensively in my early preschool teaching days. It has come out of the wisdom of many thought leaders in child development, including Jean Piaget, a Swiss psychologist who shaped much of our current Western understandings of early childhood development. He emphasized the importance of engagement in learning and believed that children should be seen as active constructors of their own knowledge. And when he wrote this in the 50s, it was like revolutionary. Can you imagine the 50s coming out and saying, no, children aren't blank recipients. They create their knowledge. And in practice, this looks to us like play. And actually it is. That's what play is. When children play, they engage in meaning making of their world. And Piaget describes this in a quote that I'm sure you're probably familiar with when he wrote, "Play is the work of childhood. It is through play that children express themselves, learn to problem solve, and develop the cognitive structures that will support all future learning. In play, children actively construct knowledge and make sense of the world around them." So what does this, and that was from Play, Dreams, and Imitation in Childhood, which he wrote in 1951. So what does this look like? Honestly, it looks kind of chaotic. And it might feel uncomfortable when we first encounter it. There are sounds of laughter, there's movement, and curiosity, sometimes loud conversations. And it's the social interaction that is at the heart of this program. Here I think of Lev Vygotsky's work, which I actually had to make this shorter, so I cut this out, but I'm going to say it because I feel called to. If you had to make me choose, he's my favorite child development theorist. And actually, I did have to choose in grad school, and he's who I picked. And his work is so amazing to me because he wrote in the 20s and 30s in Soviet Russia. And of course, because of the Iron Curtain, nobody in the West heard of any of his ideas until like the 60s and 70s when they were published in the Western world. And he actually died at age 37, and he knew he was sick, and so he just wrote like a gazillion things that are just like diaries and stuff of all the things he thought about children and their development, and then he died at 37 years old with most of those unfinished. And I don't know. If you want to look up Lev Vygotsky, he's amazing. Anyway, he was a Soviet psychologist, and what he emphasized was the importance of social interaction of people at different levels of development and abilities. And so when we have multi-age classrooms, when we have children of different developmental stages, they teach each other. They teach themselves because they can learn from each other in different ways. And he reminds us that the most effective development takes place in collaboration and in joint activity. And my favorite quote from him is, "Through others, we become ourselves." So through others, we become ourselves. So in these rooms, like truly deep learning is happening. For example, we first put these Christmas candles out in December in our windows, and the children noticed them right away, and they were delighted and talked about how pretty they were. They had seen them at night, they saw them in the day. And this led to children talking about the candles and lights that are important in their lives. Birthday candles, lighting a chalice at home, having Christmas trees lit up. And they talked about candles they knew about in other faith traditions, the menorah, other things that they had experienced. And they talked about, of course, the chalice here at church. And one child mentioned that the candles in the window reminded her of the story of how we came to get the chalice, which is our UU symbol. And it began in World War II to alert those fleeing from harm that the building in which the candle stood in a window was a safe place, because people all over spoke different languages and they could not figure out what was safe and what was not. And so the Unitarian Service Committee, which was founded in World War II, decided that a flaming chalice in a window meant that this was safe. And it was an underground symbol, and then was adopted after World War II as our symbol. And the children talked about this story, and the teacher gave a little bit more context to the story, how it worked, deepened the knowledge. And that day, the children painted light and candles, and they moved all the candles around, and I still find them in like crazy places, like they're like all these candles everywhere, never in their place. And what did that teach them? I mean, it's amazing, right? By the end of the day, the children had not only heard about the light, the way that light plays a role in faith traditions, in family traditions, in winter traditions across the world. It taught them that UUs value and love justice. They learned about our history. They connected these ideas to their own values and life, and they made it a part of their own personal faith. So you can see that this doesn't just develop a child's intellect or creativity, it does nurture their faith. And it's so in line with our values. Rather than a set of predefined beliefs, UUs seek to encourage an ever-changing belief system and engagement with our world and our spiritual nature. And this model values the learning journey. It encourages experimentation, personal expression, all of which deepen and create a moral and community compass. This way of approaching and teaching also invites really important skills such as problem solving, cooperation, self-regulation, and perhaps really importantly, empathy, all core and central values to our development of UU people. Ultimately, we hold this at the center. Children are the experts in their own spiritual growth. We trust them. We trust them to show us what is meaningful and lead us in supporting them and who they are. Now, you might wonder why we've made this shift, and it really happened during COVID, because many of us, we were raised in environments where education was about following a predetermined path, and we did use this a lot more in the past. But after COVID and the pandemic, we all were in trauma. It really, I want to use the word COVID invited us, but it kind of forced us into a new space and a new way of being. Parents and children re-entered life and community completely overloaded and stressed. And if you've read the Surgeon General's warning on parents, it was something like 47, I didn't write it down, but so don't quote me on the month, but like a huge number of parents feel like they might not make it through the day, every day. It's a really stark reality for some parents in our world right now. And trying to fit our new selves into former ways of being just wasn't working. So we began experimenting with all sorts of ways to be with our kids. And we found that this was the one that served parents and children with grace and love. And this is because emergent curriculum is not just about allowing choice and freedom. It's actually designed to be trauma-informed and stress-reducing. The built-in flexibility, giving children agency and control, supporting caring relationships, and focusing on social emotional skills are all the foundations of trauma-informed practice. And we are integrating them into our program. And this doesn't mean what we did before was like wrong or bad. In fact, it worked really, really well for many years. And we've done some amazing work and created some amazing people that have come out of this church. And our teachers have had lifelong impacts on our children. And it doesn't mean that we've given up structure to all of our programming. We still have Our Whole Lives, our sexuality program, which is highly curriculum structured. We still have coming of age programs. And I always have a plan for the day with the kids. It just usually doesn't actually happen. We're just being more flexible than ever before. And in all this, I have to say the children are responding with joy, happiness, and enthusiasm. I think you can see they love coming to church and they love going to their classes. They feel at home here because they know we honor who they are and we trust them. We trust them. I think that's huge. Like when a child knows that we trust they are whole, complete, beautiful people, I mean, what a gift. I think that's the biggest gift we could give them. And it's hard to describe the joy of watching each child find their way. Our community back in RE is characterized by inclusion, compassion, and understanding. They are open and honest and eager, and above all, they are loving to each other. I really mean that they give me hope. The future is even a tiny bit as wonderful as the communities we are developing here. I promise we're all going to be okay, even if it doesn't feel like it right now. And this leads me to 2 invitations. The first is if this seems exciting to you and you'd like to be a part of it, we are actually forming a religious exploration team that will help guide this work, like a new religious education committee. But we're modeling it more in how we have a shared worship team, a lay pastoral minister team. We'll be more of a think group and actively involved in thinking through our time with the children and our overall mission and faith development. So it will surely change our world, and I really like you to be part of it if you'd like to be. So the other invitation is it's already time to go to our children's classes, and I'm going to give you the directions again. So I encourage you to engage with this process, even if it feels unfamiliar or awkward. Enter with a sense of curiosity and openness. You can ask questions of the children. We've talked through it with them. They're the ones that are wanting to be guides are excited to show you what this is about. You can enter into play or an activity, or you can just watch. In the Montessori tradition, wandering is actually seen as an important part of a child's development, and so you are free to wander. And some guiding questions I'd like you to hold during this time are, I wonder what it would look like if you entered into a place physically or emotionally, where you could truly take the lead in your own faith journey, just as our children are doing? And what would you need to let go of to get to this place within yourself? What do you need to be open and curious with yourself? And then the next question is, what work in these rooms compels your attention? And what do you think this tells you about your own needs and your own faith journey? So what is it that you feel drawn to? And just hold that question, why? So, here again are all of the places you can go. There is open free play time in our spirit playroom. Sophie and Elizabeth will be there. Art in our art room with Clover and Fran. On the third floor, there is a writer's workshop going on with Lauren and Emmy. That's in the library. On the balcony, there are games. Kenyon's going to lead us through that, which is going to be awesome. In the sanctuary, there is music with instruments and karaoke and sing-along. And then I have the little, I was thinking about what to do for people who wanted to stay at their seats, and I'm going to bring you one of our worship bags that the kids grab when they want to be twitchy and, they need to get their wiggles out. So you'll get a bag full of like clay and art and all the things that we give to our children to help them sit through service. So we have all these ready for you, and it is time. And the children have come back in to sing you to your classes.